Hi everybody. Today we're going to have an aches and pains session and we're going to focus on knee pain. So I'm going to share with you a 4-step process that can help to correct the dysfunction in your kinetic chain, which is most likely causing your pain. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to inhibit the overactive muscles that are most likely causing or contributing to your knee pain. So the technique that we're going to use is called SMR, or self-myofascial release. And there's 2 different ways that you can do it. So I have a foam roller here, which you can use for SMR. And SMR is just basically, it's a flexibility tool, and it basically inhibits prepares the overactive muscles for the next part of this process, which is the lengthening process or stretching process. So you can use a foam roller like this one, or you can also use any kind of you could use a rolling pin, or there's other products out there that serve the same purpose. So I'm going to show you, I'll show you both techniques. And this is the handheld tool is going to be much easier to use than the foam roller. First muscle group that's probably overactive or tight if you're having knee pain would be your calves. So in order to foam roll or self-myofascial release your calves, you're going to take your rolling pin and you are going to basically massage that calf muscle. So you can hold the rolling pin on both sides, both handles here, and you're gonna roll that calf muscle. You're basically giving yourself a massage for that calf muscle. What you want to do as you're doing this is, if you feel a spot that's pretty irritated, you want to try to hold the pressure on that spot. And you want to hold it for about 20 to 30 seconds. Chances are you're going to find a tender spot, and you want to focus on that spot and just let that fascia release. So you can also do it with a foam roller. So I'll do my other leg with the foam roller. But what you want to do, it's a lot more difficult because you have to lift your body up and basically use your body weight to massage against the roller. So I'm going to turn this way so you can see better. But what you're going to do is lift your body weight and make sure that you're bracing your core and you're pretty stable. And then you're going to roll your calf back and forth on the foam roller. So I have a tender spot on the lateral part of my calf here. So I'm just going to hold it for about 20 seconds and really try to inhibit that overactive muscle. Group that is probably overactive and tight is your adductors. So those are your inner thigh muscles. So again, we're going to take our roller and we're just going to give ourselves a little massage. And again, if you feel a tender spot, you want to stop and sort of hold on that spot. So with the foam roller, it's a little, again, it's more difficult to get this area inhibited, but you would lay on your roller and go back and forth till you find that tender spot and hold it there. So you can see why I want to show you both ways to do it. It's just much safer to do the handheld way, especially if you don't have a lot of space. Group we're gonna focus on is your hamstrings. They're probably super tight, especially the outside part of your hamstring or your bicep femoris muscle with the lateral part of your hamstring. But if you have your handheld roller, you're going to roll on that back of that leg. And again, if you find a tender spot, you want to hold on that spot. It might be easier too for some of these if you want to sit in a chair to do it. It just depends what your preference is. Then I'm going to show you with the foam roller. We'll do the other leg. And again, I'm going to turn here. You want to make sure your body's in control. And you're going to roll here on your hamstring. And again, for me, my lateral part of my hamstring is pretty tight. And there's a spot right here where I feel almost like a ball. And I'm going to hold it on that spot. You don't want to spend more than, 30 seconds to a minute on each body part. So that's probably, or area that's probably super tight is your TFL and your IT band. So with the hand roller, what you want to do, I'm going to sit this way, is really want to work into this spot in here and then a little bit more lateral. But if you can dig in there, try to get your TFL, which is a hip flexor and an internal rotator, and try to get that massaged. It can be pretty painful if your IT band and your TFL is relatively tight, which mine is. So that's how you do it with a handheld tool. With a foam roller like this, you're going to almost get into like a side plank position. Your top leg is gonna come over your bottom leg, and you're gonna roll on this spot. And you can go all the way down towards your knee and back and forth. And again, if you find a tender spot like mine, it's right here, I'm gonna hold on there for 20 seconds. So that's the end of the SMR, the first sort of step in this process to start to correct the dysfunction. Part of this is a static stretch. So we're going to take all 4 of those muscles that we worked on with the foam rolling, and we're going to do a static stretch for each of them. So we're going to start with our calves. I have a Moflex, so I'm going to start stretching my calves in that dorsal stance position, which is simply bringing my toes up onto that first tier and the ball of my foot on the toes on the second tier, ball of my foot on the first tier, and heels grounded behind me. And we're going to stretch calves here. So if you don't have a Moflex, you can do you can stretch your calves on a stair, or you can do it against the wall. But I think the best way to get it is to use the Moflex. So we're going to hold here for 20 to 30 seconds. Okay, then we're going to stretch our adductors. And again, because of the space that I have and the equipment that I have, I'm going to just do a seated adductor stretch where I'm going to come into a straddle position. I'm going to pull my toes back towards me, and I'm just going to sort of lean forward a little bit. Okay, so you should feel a stretch through your inner thighs or your adductors. And we're going to hold this for 30 seconds. Next, we're gonna go into a hamstring stretch, which you guys probably all know from watching all these videos. Hopefully you know. So all I'm gonna do for this one is use a rope or a belt or a stretch cord. I'm gonna come all the way down to my back, pulling my toes towards my chest, keeping a nice straight leg, and we're gonna hold here for 30 seconds to stretch the hamstring. From here, you can take it into a IT band stretch or the outside crossover stretch to get that IT band. And you're gonna hold it there for 30 seconds. And then you're gonna do the same thing with the other sequences to strengthen the underactive muscle groups. So you have your overactive muscle groups that are working too hard, and then you have the muscles that are underactive or weak or not getting enough work, which is causing that pain or that dysfunction in the kinetic chain. So because your calf muscles are probably, or your calf muscles are tight, we know that, we just foam roll them and stretch them. Your anterior tibialis muscle, which is this muscle that runs on the front of your shin, is probably weak. So we're gonna do an exercise first that can focus on building strength in the anterior tibialis. So what I've done is attach a mini band to my ottoman, and I'm gonna show you how to do an exercise for your anterior tibialis. So I'm gonna attach this mini band to a strong, post, or you could use a chair. This ottoman's pretty heavy, so it's gonna give me good resistance. I'm gonna put it on my toe here, or on not my toe, but the top of my foot. And I'm gonna pull my toes back towards my chest, and then I'm gonna release it forward. I'm gonna pull back and release forward. So you wanna feel that, like, this muscle group, that anterior tibialis muscle, is firing up. You're also gonna feel it in your quad a little bit, but you wanna do 15 reps here with a slower tempo. Lowering down, pulling back, holding for a couple seconds, and then lowering down again. And we're gonna do, like I said, 15 on each leg. Glute medius, or hip abductors, abductors. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this. So you can simply do a standing hip abduction. Hold on to something if you need to, and you're gonna lift and lower, lift and lower. You wanna try to strengthen this glute medius. That muscle is responsible for abduction of your hip, and it's underactive. It's not working hard enough, and that can be causing your knee pain. We want to strengthen that. Remember, we stretched our adductors, which is the opposite muscle group. And we'll do 15 on the other side. If this isn't hard enough for you, you can use a mini band. You can do you can lay on the ground and do side leg raises. You could do clamshells. All those exercises work on strengthening that glute medius. That we want to strengthen are our glutes. Again, a couple different ways you can work on strengthening glutes. I'm going to show you just a simple bridge, glute bridge that you can do on the ground. You could also do a hip extension, standing hip extension. but let's do 15 bridges on the ground to activate the glute maximus. So I'm gonna come here on my mat. I'm gonna go all the way down on the ground. I'm gonna cross my arms over my chest because that makes it more difficult for me to help myself get into that bridge position. So if my arms were at my side, I could push down through my arms and help to get my hips up into that extended position. But we want to make sure the glutes are doing all the work. So I'm going to cross my arms over my chest to do these 15 reps. And as you're lifting your hips, you want to make sure that your glutes are doing the work. You're going to push through your heels and lift your hips high. And again, we want to do 15, sort of in that slower, controlled tempo. 3 parts of this, which are integrate with the, inhibit with the SMR, and then lengthen, static stretching. Then we did the third phase, which was strengthening. So we're strengthening those underactive muscles. And now we're going to put it all together and do an integrated dynamic movement. Again, you can pick different exercises based on sort of your ability. I'm going to do a sit to stand here to focus on that squat movement. You could do, if you had a stability ball at home, you could do wall squats with your stability ball behind your back. You could do, if you had a safe place to step up, you could do a step up here. But the idea is to integrate the movement and use all the muscles that we just strengthened and stretched to perform a more dynamic movement. So we're going to do 15 sit to stands. I have my ottoman here. So we're going to focus on sending those hips back, touching down, and then standing up. Pushing through those heels as you come up. You could also try to give you ideas here. You could use, you could just do air squat if you want, where you're not using anything at all, and you're just simply squatting down and standing up. So that does it for our aches and pains for knee pain. If you have questions, just put them in the comments, and I'll try to answer any questions that you might have. I know it's a long process, but I really think that all 4 steps have helped. I know with past injuries that I've had, it's really helped. So thanks for watching, and everybody be well.